Ethan Cole never liked surprises. He had spent most of his life in the United Human Fleet, following orders, studying battle records, and fixing broken ships. His record was clean, his temper calm, and his results always above average. Nothing about him was loud or special. That was probably why he was chosen for an assignment that no one else wanted. The transfer order arrived one quiet morning while he was checking ship diagnostics on the Orbital Base Astra 9. It was a short, cold message. Lieutenant Commander Ethan Cole, you are hereby assigned to command the Alliance warship Valora's Spear. Report immediately to Dock 47. Full cooperation expected. No one congratulated him. The nearby engineers just looked at him with pity. One whispered, "You're really going there?" "That ship?" Another muttered, "May the stars guide you, man." Ethan frowned. He had read about Valora's Spear. The ship had a strange reputation. It was powerful, one of the few surviving hybrid warships built after the Human-Thaylen War, but also infamous for internal disputes. The crew changed almost every few months. Rumors said no commander ever lasted more than a season. Still, orders were orders. He packed his uniform, took a deep breath, and headed to Dock 47. The hangar doors opened, and there she was, Valora's Spear. Her hull shimmered with blue alloys and silver markings that glowed faintly. She looked both elegant and deadly, like a blade carved by light itself. A shuttle carried him toward the ship. As he approached, he saw alien banners etched on the hull, symbols of different worlds that once fought each other. Now they stood together under one alliance. When he landed, the ramp extended with a hiss. A tall figure awaited him, skin pale like ivory, eyes sharp and golden. She stood straight, her voice firm as she spoke. "Commander Ethan Cole." "Yes," Ethan replied calmly. "Reporting as ordered." "I am Commander Lyra, First Officer," she said. "Welcome aboard the Valora's Spear. We were not informed that our next captain would be human." There was a pause in her tone, something halfway between surprise and disapproval. Ethan noticed the subtle flick of her tail. It was a Thaylen trait. Strong, proud warriors known for never backing down. "I wasn't informed your crew was fully Thaylen," Ethan said with a faint smile. Lyra's golden eyes narrowed slightly. "We are not all Thaylen, Commander. You will see soon enough." She turned sharply and began walking. Ethan followed her down the metallic hallway. The ship's design was unlike anything he had seen. Graceful curves instead of sharp lines, smooth glass panels glowing with alien symbols, corridors humming with energy. It was both beautiful and unsettling. As they moved deeper inside, Lyra explained, "This ship is a collaboration between 8 species. We serve under the Galactic Alliance. Every officer here has survived wars you only studied in your academy." Ethan nodded, unfazed. "Good. That means you're all experienced." Lyra stopped and looked back at him. "Experience does not mean obedience. Many of us lost people to humans in the war. You may find your orders questioned." Ethan didn't respond with anger. He simply said, "That's fair. But as long as we share the same flag now, I'll expect discipline from everyone, including myself." Something flickered in Lyra's eyes, a mix of respect and caution. They entered the bridge. Ethan stopped at the doorway, quietly stunned. The bridge wasn't filled with the usual gray panels and rigid stations he was used to. Instead, it was alive with color. Holographic displays floated like ribbons of light. And the crew, all women from different alien races, moved gracefully around their consoles. The pilot's seat was occupied by Rin, a sleek, silver-skinned woman whose reflective eyes glowed softly as she moved her hands through floating controls. At the engineering station, Tavri, with translucent blue skin and delicate fins behind her ears, adjusted energy levels while humming softly. The communications officer, Mira, had faint feathers along her arms and a melodic voice that sounded like singing when she spoke. Every pair of eyes turned toward Ethan as he stepped in. The room grew quiet. Lyra gestured toward the central command chair. "Your station, Commander." Ethan sat down slowly. He could feel the tension around him. Every crew member watched, waiting to see what kind of leader this human would be. "Let's start simple," he said, his tone even. "Status report." Rin responded first, her tone sharp. "Engines stable. Navigation grid aligned. We are waiting for patrol orders, Captain." "Good," Ethan said. "Let's make sure we're running optimal before we depart." Tavri turned, her voice soft but distant. You plan to check the systems yourself? Yes, Ethan replied. Every system, every station. I like to know what I'm flying with. Mira's feathers twitched slightly in amusement. Humans don't trust machines? Ethan smiled faintly. Humans trust what they understand. The crew exchanged curious glances. None of them had expected a calm, polite human. Most had expected arrogance or coldness. Hours passed as Ethan reviewed reports and checked systems personally. He didn't raise his voice, didn't issue unnecessary orders. He listened. When Rin complained about the sluggish response time, he walked down to engineering to help check the power relays himself. When Tavri needed calibration data, he held tools beside her quietly until the job was done. By the end of the shift, the crew's curiosity had softened slightly into surprise. Lyra approached him on the bridge. You seem different from what I expected. I get that a lot, Ethan said lightly. Most human officers rely on their rank. You work like a junior mechanic. I was one once, Ethan said, wiping grease off his hands. A commander who forgets what it's like to work is a commander who can't lead. Lyra didn't reply right away. But she didn't argue either. Later, Ethan walked alone through the quiet observation deck. Stars filled the glass wall in front of him, millions of them burning like cold fire. He took a slow breath, thinking about what the Admiral had said before he left the base. Cole, we're sending you to a ship that doesn't trust humans. Don't try to control them. Try to understand them. If you fail, the Alliance project will collapse. He hadn't answered then, but now he understood the weight of that task. This wasn't just a command, it was an experiment. The Alliance wanted to see if a human could work with alien species that once saw humans as enemies. Behind him, footsteps echoed. Tavri entered quietly, holding a small energy tablet. Captain, she said gently. You haven't eaten since morning. Ethan turned, smiling slightly. You read minds, don't you? She blinked, embarrassed. Only emotions. Yours are calm but heavy. You think too much. I'm a captain now, he said softly. Thinking too much is part of the job. Tavri tilted her head. Most captains yell when they are worried. You do not. I've seen what yelling does, he replied. It scares people. I'd rather lead them than scare them. Tavri looked at him for a moment, then nodded slowly and walked away, leaving him alone again under the stars. Hours later, an alert rang through the ship. The communications console lit up red. Mira's voice came through the intercom. Captain, we've received a distress signal. Unidentified origin near the Colaris dead zone. Ethan returned to the bridge immediately. The crew was already gathered, tension thick in the air. The dead zone? Rin said sharply. That's uncharted space. No signal should come from there. Ethan looked at the map. The signal flickered weakly, repeating a single phrase in broken code. Help. Under attack. Lyra crossed her arms. It could be a trap. Pirates often fake distress calls to lure ships. Ethan studied the signal for a long moment, then looked around at the crew. It might be a trap, he admitted. But if it's not, someone out there needs help. Lyra frowned. You would risk this ship for an unknown? I would risk it to do the right thing, he said firmly. The bridge fell silent again. For the first time, some of the crew exchanged glances not of doubt, but of respect. Prepare to set course, Ethan ordered. If there's danger, we'll face it together. Lyra hesitated, then finally nodded. Understood, Captain. The Valora's spear turned slowly, its engines glowing blue as it cut through the dark. Ethan stood on the bridge, watching the stars shift ahead. He didn't know what waited for them in the dead zone, but deep down, he felt something stirring. This was no ordinary mission. This was the start of something larger, something that might change how the galaxy saw humans forever. The Valora's spear entered the Colaris dead zone with its shields raised and scanners humming. The stars outside faded into a dark mist where space itself seemed quiet and thick, like a frozen ocean. The crew worked in silence, each glance filled with worry. No one liked this place. Signal is faint, Mira said, her melodic voice softer than usual. It's repeating in an old Alliance code, but slightly changed, almost like someone rewrote it by hand. Ethan stood near her console, arms crossed. Can you trace it? Barely, she replied. It's jumping between frequencies, almost like it doesn't want to be found. Lyra stepped closer, frowning. We should turn back, Captain. If this is a trap, we'll be surrounded before we can react. Ethan didn't answer immediately. He stared at the holographic map where a blinking dot marked the source of the signal. If it's someone calling for help, he said slowly, then turning back means leaving them to die. Rin spun her chair to face him, her silver eyes sharp. And if it's pirates pretending to be victims? They'll drain our energy cores before you even know they're aboard. Ethan met her gaze calmly. Then we'll make sure they don't get that chance. His tone was steady, so steady that even Rin didn't argue again. Bring us closer, he said. Half speed. The ship glided forward, lights cutting through the drifting fog. Strange static flickered across the bridge screens. Tavri's fingers moved quickly over her console. Something's wrong with the magnetic field, she said. It's bending around us. Is it natural? Ethan asked. No, Tavri replied quietly. It's being controlled. Before anyone could react, alarms blared. Red lights washed over the bridge. Mira shouted, multiple ships emerging from the mist. Grand Dominion signatures, pirates. Outside, sleek black vessels appeared like ghosts, surrounding Valora's spear. Their engines glowed red, weapons charging. Shields to maximum, Ethan ordered. Evasive pattern Delta 5. Rin's hands moved fast. The ship spun and rolled through enemy fire, energy bolts flashing past the windows. The hull shuddered as one shot clipped the side. Minor damage to starboard plating, Tavri reported. Ethan gritted his teeth. Return fire short bursts. Focus on their thrusters. Lyra looked at him. You plan to disable them instead of destroy? Yes, he said. We need answers, not wreckage. Lyra hesitated but obeyed. The alien crew followed his orders precisely, even under pressure. The Valora's spear fired back in calculated bursts, striking the pirate ships with pinpoint accuracy. One enemy ship spun out of control. Another's engine exploded in a cloud of orange flame, but there were too many. More incoming. Mira shouted. 3 ships approaching from below. Ethan thought fast. He remembered the gravity fields Tavri had mentioned earlier. The bending patterns around the ship. Tavri, can we manipulate the local gravity flow? Tavri blinked, surprised. It's dangerous, Captain. The field is unstable. Can you do it? She hesitated, then nodded. Yes, if you give me 2 minutes. You've got one, Ethan said firmly. She dove into the controls, energy arcs flashing across her screen. The ship's lights dimmed as she rerouted power. Stabilizing core pressure, adjusting magnetic output. Lyra frowned. Captain, what's your plan? Use the field against them, he said. Let them think we're trapped, then collapse the gravity around them. Rin smirked slightly. Now that sounds human. Take it as a compliment, Ethan replied dryly. Outside, the pirate ships closed in. They began to circle Valora's spear, preparing to board. But then the stars bent, the mist rippled, and the pirates' scanners went haywire. Their ships drifted off course, pulled toward invisible gravity wells. One slammed into another, exploding in a brilliant flash. The rest tried to flee, but the pull was too strong. The field trapped them in a slow spiral toward the gravitational core Ethan had created. Fire now, he ordered. The Valora's spear unleashed a final barrage. Energy beams sliced through the crippled ships, disabling their engines completely. Within minutes, the battlefield fell silent. Mira exhaled, trembling slightly. All hostiles down. Signal gone. The crew cheered softly, but Ethan didn't smile. He turned toward the central screen. Tavri, can you find where that distress signal came from originally? Tavri nodded and began scanning. After a few moments, she frowned. Captain, the source wasn't a person. It came from a small pod drifting near those wrecks. Show me, Ethan said. The image zoomed in. A single escape pod floated among debris, its surface covered in burn marks. Faint blue lights flickered inside. Life signs? Ethan asked. One, Tavri said slowly. Weak, but not biological. It's a machine signature, Lyra crossed her arms. So it was a trap. Maybe, Ethan replied. Or maybe someone or something was trying to warn us. He gave the order. Bring it aboard carefully. Minutes later, the pod was secured in the cargo bay. Ethan arrived with Lyra and Tavri to inspect it. The small capsule was unlike any human or alien design, smooth silver metal covered in glowing lines. It pulsed faintly like it was breathing. Strange, Tavri murmured. It's using an ancient data code, thousands of years old. Can you open it? Ethan asked. With your permission. He nodded. Tavri pressed a sequence on her wrist device. The pod hissed open. Inside was a small sphere hovering in midair. It projected faint symbols that none of them recognized. Lyra stepped closer, her hand on her sidearm. Careful! It could be a weapon. The sphere blinked once, and then a voice echoed through the bay. Metallic but almost human. If you are hearing this, the machine world wakes. Stop it before it remembers. Then the sphere went dark. For a long moment, no one spoke. Ethan broke the silence. Record that message. We'll analyze it later. Tavri, secure the device in containment. As they left the bay, Lyra walked beside him, her expression tense. Captain, this is beyond our mission. We were ordered to patrol, not chase ancient warnings. I know, Ethan said quietly. But if that thing is right, something dangerous is waking up. We can't ignore it. You would risk the crew? She asked. I'd risk myself, he said, but not blindly. We'll study the message first. Lyra watched him for a moment, searching his face. She had served under many commanders, some too cautious, others too proud. Ethan was different. He didn't act like he wanted to be a hero. He just wanted to do the right thing, no matter how heavy it felt. Back on the bridge, Tavri worked for hours decoding the message. Strange alien symbols filled the screens. She looked exhausted but determined. Finally, she said, Captain, I've managed to translate part of it. It speaks about a place, a machine world hidden in the Calaris sector. It says it's not a planet, but something built. A machine world? Mira whispered. Ethan leaned over the console. Coordinates? Tavri nodded. Yes, but it's deep within the dark zone. No known routes, Rin groaned. So we're going straight into the heart of nowhere. Perfect. Ethan smiled faintly. If it makes you feel better, we'll take the safest route. There is no safe route, Rin muttered. But she still began plotting the course. As the ship prepared for the next jump, the crew grew unusually quiet. Each of them felt the same strange pull, a mix of fear and curiosity. When the engines ignited and the stars blurred into streaks of light, Ethan sat back in the command chair, thoughtful. He had started this mission as a test subject, a human captain placed among alien women who distrusted him. But after the battle, something had changed. He saw it in their eyes, in the way they followed his orders without hesitation. He hadn't earned their friendship yet, but he had earned a small piece of their respect. Lyra stood beside him, arms folded. You realize, Captain, that if we go deeper into the dead zone, the Alliance might call this disobedience. I know, Ethan said. But if we turn back now, we'll never find out what that message meant. She gave a small sigh. You humans always find trouble, he smiled slightly. Maybe, but sometimes trouble finds us first. Outside the window, the stars faded as the ship entered another dark stretch of space. Unknown signals flickered faintly in the distance, like whispers of something ancient waiting to wake. Ethan leaned forward and said quietly, Let's find out what the galaxy has been trying to hide. The Valora's spear moved onward, engines glowing like blue fire in the endless dark. And for the first time since their uneasy beginning, the alien crew followed their human captain, not out of duty, but out of quiet trust. The Valora's spear glided through the dense fog of the dead zone, its engines humming a steady blue rhythm. Outside, the void felt heavier, as if the darkness itself resisted their passage. Stars were barely visible, smeared into long streaks by the ship's engines. Every officer on the bridge felt a silent tension, as though the universe was holding its breath. Ethan studied the holographic map. The coordinates Tavri had decoded led to a massive object hidden deep within the fog, a world made entirely of metal. Towers rose like jagged spires, stretching into the thick, stormy atmosphere. The planet, or construct, glowed faintly with energy nodes that pulsed like a heartbeat. Captain, Lyra said cautiously, whatever this is, it's not natural. It's built. Entirely artificial. Ancient and dangerous, Ethan leaned forward. If that message is correct, it's waking. And if it wakes completely, it could threaten the sector. Maybe more. Rin's silver eyes narrowed. So we're walking into the lion's den. Why exactly did the Alliance think a human should lead this? Ethan did not answer immediately. He simply checked the shields and weapon systems. Humans are unpredictable, he said finally. Machines think in patterns, humans think in chaos. Tavri raised an eyebrow. You mean you're counting on luck? Ethan smiled faintly. No, I'm counting on thinking differently. And on all of you. The alien crew exchanged quiet glances. This human, calm under pressure, was beginning to feel like something more than a commander. He wasn't relying on authority or fear. He was relying on strategy and trust. The closer they approached, the more the ship's sensors reacted. Strange electromagnetic pulses interfered with communication systems. Lights flickered across the bridge as consoles briefly shut down and restarted. "Captain," Tavri said, voice tight. "The construct is interfering with our systems. We're not sure how yet," Ethan nodded. "Keep me informed." We proceed slowly. Nothing sudden. The ship drifted closer, navigating between massive metallic towers. They could see surface details now. Huge energy conduits, walls covered with strange inscriptions, and silent vessels docked along enormous platforms. The scale of the construct was unimaginable. It wasn't a planet. It was a machine world, an entire civilization of machines frozen in time, waiting. Suddenly, alarms blared. Energy flares erupted from the surface, sweeping across the sky. The ship shook violently. "Captain! They're targeting us!" Rin shouted, her hands flying across the controls. Ethan's mind raced. "Defensive maneuvers. Shields up, full power to engines. Tavri, I need the energy field stabilized." Tavri's fingers danced over the console. "It's unstable. The magnetic flow is unpredictable. I can't hold it for long." "Then we improvise," Ethan said firmly. "Rin, maintain evasive patterns. Mira, try to intercept their signals. We need to understand what we're dealing with." Outside, massive energy tendrils shot toward the Valora's spear. The ship's shields flared, absorbing the impact, but each hit sent ripples through the hull. Crew members gripped consoles and chairs to stay steady. Ethan's eyes were fixed on the screens, calculating angles, speeds, and energy patterns. "Lyra, take manual control of the port weapons. Target the conduits emitting energy pulses. We don't destroy the world, we just disable its weapons." Lyra nodded, tension in her jaw. She moved swiftly, her hands on the controls, her instincts as a Thaylen warrior guiding her. Tavri adjusted the ship's core output to provide extra energy to the shields, while Rin twisted and rolled through the chaotic field with incredible skill. Minutes stretched into an eternity. The bridge shook with every energy blast. Sparks flew from overloaded consoles. Mira's melodic voice pierced the chaos. "Captain!" Signals indicate movement inside the construct. "Automated ships activating. Prepare for boarding?" Lyra asked, almost in disbelief. Ethan shook his head. "Not yet. We need information, not a fight. Keep disabling the nodes. Once the main reactor is unstable, we can force them to reveal themselves." Rin's silver eyes flashed. "You humans really do like walking into danger, don't you?" Ethan smiled faintly, his calmness unshaken. "I don't call it danger. I call it opportunity." Tavri's hands moved over the controls at lightning speed. "Captain, if we collapse the primary energy node, the rest of the world may self-destruct. We're talking about complete annihilation." "I understand," Ethan replied. "Are we ready?" "Almost," Tavri said. She paused, a bead of sweat forming on her brow. "Yes, now." Ethan gave the order. "Target the node. Fire." The Valora's spear released a concentrated energy beam. It struck the main conduit. The construct trembled. Energy flows shifted violently. Automated vessels on the surface tried to respond, but the beam had scrambled their circuits. Sparks and flames ran across the towers. For a moment, the ship rocked violently. Systems flickered. Lyra's hands were steady, guiding the ship with precision while Rin's piloting ensured they weren't hit by stray blasts. Tavri's energy recalibration kept the shields stable, and then silence. The construct stopped its attacks. The automated ships froze. The massive towers trembled once, then fell silent. The dead zone seemed almost peaceful, as if it were holding its breath again. Ethan leaned back slightly, breathing out. "Status report. Shields intact. Minor hull damage. Enemy vessels offline. Energy flows contained," Tavri said, her hands trembling slightly from exhaustion. Rin exhaled deeply. "You actually did it, Captain. I didn't think a human could—" She stopped, realizing she was mid-compliment. Lyra's golden eyes met Ethan's. There was no sarcasm there, only respect. "You didn't just survive, you led. And we followed." Ethan shook his head slightly. "We all did this. I didn't do it alone." The crew's faces reflected a mix of relief and pride. For the first time, the human commander wasn't a stranger. They were a team. Tavri approached Ethan, holding the small sphere they had retrieved earlier. "Captain," the message inside. "It mentions a central node, the heart of the machine world. If it awakens fully, it could rebuild its army in hours. Ethan took the sphere, examining it. Then we need to destroy it completely. But carefully. We can't risk a chain reaction that destroys the dead zone entirely. Or worse, us. Lyra stepped closer. You're asking us to go deeper. Into the heart of an ancient machine world. And you expect us to trust a human completely. I'm asking you to trust each other first, Ethan replied. I just guide the ship. We work together. Rin chuckled softly. You humans have strange ways of saying things. Ethan smiled faintly. Maybe, but it works. Hours passed as the crew prepared for the next move. Tavri studied the machine patterns. Mira monitored alien communications. Rin adjusted the ship's trajectory, and Lyra coordinated their strategy. Ethan observed, giving calm directions, steady encouragement, and occasional insight that surprised even the most experienced aliens. By the time they reached the central node, the Valora's spear was battered but intact. The node itself was massive, a metallic tower taller than anything on their homeworlds. Energy pulsed along its surface like veins of light carrying life into the construct. Automated defenses stirred, sensing the intruders. Ethan took a deep breath. This is it. Stay sharp. We get in, disable the node, and get out. No mistakes. The alien crew nodded. There was no hesitation. Every woman on that bridge moved as one. Perfectly synchronized, deadly precise, and fiercely loyal. As they approached, the node's defenses activated. Energy beams shot from massive turrets. Automated drones launched into the void, their metallic bodies spinning like deadly toys. The ship rocked under the first volleys. Evasive maneuvers, Ethan shouted. Rin's hands flew over the controls, dodging beams with impossible agility. Tavri pushed the ship's core to maximum output, stabilizing shields as energy arcs danced across the hull. Mira intercepted signals, scrambling drones' targeting systems. Lyra aimed the port weapons with deadly precision, striking back at automated turrets. Ethan gave one final command. All power to the main beam. We hit the central node simultaneously. Energy converged, guided by Tavri, aimed by Lyra, focused by Rin's piloting. The Valora's spear released a concentrated blast. The central node screamed in light and heat, energy flows collapsing in violent arcs. The machine world shook. Towers collapsed. Drones spiraled out of control and the sky lit up like a sunrise of fire. For a moment, the bridge fell silent. Then one by one, the crew exhaled. They had done it. Ethan looked at them all. We survived together. Lyra's golden eyes softened. You led us well, human. Today you earned more than respect. You earned trust. Ethan allowed himself a faint smile. And you, all of you, earned a commander worth following. Outside, the machine world burned, its awakening stopped, its threat eliminated. For the first time, the dead zone was truly silent. The Valora's spear drifted in the calm aftermath. The alien women, once skeptical, now looked at their human captain differently. He had not only survived, they had survived under his guidance, united as one. And for Ethan Cole, that quiet recognition was more than any promotion or medal. It was proof that humans, though underestimated, could lead, adapt, and earn loyalty across the stars. The galaxy was about to learn something new, and this crew, this human captain, was ready. The Valora's spear floated silently above the remains of the machine world. The energy of the central node had collapsed completely, leaving massive metallic towers charred and lifeless. Outside, the dark mist of the dead zone shimmered faintly, as if space itself had exhaled. The bridge crew remained tense, their eyes scanning for any signs of lingering danger. Ethan Cole leaned back in his command chair, finally allowing himself to take a deep breath. His body ached from hours of constant focus, but his mind was alert. The mission had been far more dangerous than he had expected. He looked around the bridge at the crew, Rin at the pilot station, Tavri at engineering, Mira monitoring communications, and Lyra standing silently beside him. For the first time, the room felt different. It was no longer filled with skepticism and doubt. It was filled with respect, trust, and quiet admiration. Captain, Lyra said finally, breaking the silence, we've secured all systems. There are no active threats remaining. Ethan nodded. Good, but we stay alert. The machine world might be destroyed, but we don't know what triggered it in the first place. There could be more remnants, more nodes. Rin smirked. You humans really like to make a quiet mission into a suicide run. Ethan smiled faintly. I prefer to call it taking responsibility. Someone had to stop it, and I wasn't about to wait for orders. Tavri moved toward him, holding the small sphere they had recovered from the first pod. The sphere's lights pulsed faintly in the dark. "Captain, this device, it might hold additional data. There could be information about other machine nodes." Ethan reached out and took the sphere, examining it carefully. "Good. We'll take it back to the Alliance for full analysis. But for now it's secured." Lyra's golden eyes softened as she observed him. "I admit I doubted you at first. I expected arrogance or hesitation, but you acted with calm logic and courage. You earned our trust, human." Ethan shook his head. "We earned it together. I couldn't have done this alone." Mira's voice broke in softly. "You guided us through danger without fear. That is more than any of us expected. You didn't just command, you protected us." The crew exchanged glances. Each of them had been skeptical when they first learned their captain was human. But now, after facing ancient machines, energy storms, and near destruction, their perception had shifted. Ethan wasn't just a human, they had learned to trust him. The ship's AI chimed softly. "All systems functional. Shield stable. Core output normal." Ethan leaned forward. "Good, begin repairs and recalibration. Rin, take us into orbit above the nearest Alliance station. We need a full assessment of the ship and crew before returning to base." As the ship began its slow journey toward safety, the crew moved with quiet efficiency. Tavri and Mira checked energy outputs and communication systems. Rin piloted the ship with careful precision, weaving through residual energy fields from the destroyed machine world. Lyra oversaw operations on the bridge, her expression calm but alert. Hours passed. The stars outside began to regain their brightness, piercing through the lingering mist of the dead zone. The sense of danger faded, replaced by relief and something else, a growing sense of camaraderie. Ethan stood near the observation deck, looking out at the calm expanse of space. The machine world lay behind them, a stark reminder of what could have happened if they had failed. Yet in that danger they had found something remarkable. The alien crew had seen what a human could do: lead, adapt, and survive under extreme conditions. Lyra joined him silently, her arms crossed. For a long moment they watched the stars. "You know," she said quietly, "I never thought I would say this, but I'm glad you were assigned to this ship." Ethan looked at her, surprised. "I expected skepticism, not gratitude." She gave a small smile. "You changed the way we see humans, Ethan. You've proven that they can be more than we thought. More capable, more reliable." He nodded slowly, letting her words sink in. "I didn't do it to prove anything. I did it because it was right, and because I knew I had a crew who could follow through." Rin appeared behind them, arms crossed, smirking. "Trust me, Captain, we didn't just follow through. We watched you handle chaos and survive. You earned our respect, whether you like it or not." Tavri moved closer, her expression soft. "You've done something rare. You led without fear, without arrogance. We know now that humans can be trusted." Ethan smiled faintly, feeling a sense of accomplishment deeper than any medal or promotion. He had faced impossible odds, but more importantly, he had gained the respect of those who once doubted him. The alien crew, once skeptical, independent, and cautious, had come to trust him. The journey back to the Alliance station was quiet. The crew worked diligently, each one reflecting on the events of the past days. For Ethan, it was a moment to observe, to appreciate, and to prepare for the challenges ahead. As they entered orbit around the station, alarms sounded, routine docking procedures. Rin maneuvered the ship carefully, aligning with the docking bay. Tavri recalibrated the energy systems to match station protocols. Lyra oversaw the operations, ensuring no mistakes. When the Valora's spear finally docked, the crew exhaled collectively. Relief mixed with pride. They had survived. They had succeeded. And they had done so under a human captain who had earned their trust, not through rank or authority, but through courage and competence. As the docking clamps engaged, Ethan turned to the crew. "We're safe for now, but our work isn't done. The machine world may be destroyed, but we need to ensure no other threats emerge. And we'll do it together." Lyra's golden eyes softened. "Captain, I think we already are together. Whatever comes next, we follow your lead." Mira, Rin, and Tavri nodded in agreement, their expressions reflecting confidence and loyalty. Ethan allowed himself a faint smile. "Good. That's what I wanted to hear." The Alliance personnel boarding the ship for debriefing expected a chaotic crew or a human captain struggling to control alien officers. Instead, they found a team united, efficient, and disciplined. an unspoken testament to what humans could accomplish when they earned trust. Ethan stood calmly as the senior officer of the Alliance station asked questions about the mission. He answered clearly, detailing the battle with the pirates, the recovery of the distress signal, and the neutralization of the machine world. The alien crew backed him up at every point, speaking confidently and professionally. After the briefing, as the Alliance personnel left, Lyra approached him. "You know," she said softly, "if anyone had told me a human could do this, I wouldn't have believed it. But you've proven something important, not just to us, but to the galaxy." "What's that?" Ethan asked, curious. "That humans can lead," she said simply. "Not through fear, not through force, but through respect, courage, and intelligence." Ethan nodded. "Then we'll continue. There are other threats out there, and we're ready." Rin smirked. "I guess that means we're stuck with you, human." Ethan laughed lightly. "I wouldn't have it any other way." Tavri moved closer, holding a small repair tool she had kept with her. "Captain, we've all learned something from this mission, not just how to survive, but how to trust." Ethan looked around at his crew. Each woman had her own skills, her own strengths, and her own perspective. But together, they had become something far greater than the sum of their parts. He felt a sense of pride, not for himself, but for the crew. He had earned their trust, but more importantly, they had earned his. Together, they were a team that could face anything the galaxy might throw at them. As the Velora's spear prepared for its next mission, Ethan stood at the observation deck once more. Stars stretched infinitely before him, bright and endless. Behind him, his alien crew moved with quiet efficiency, preparing the ship for whatever lay ahead. Ethan took a deep breath, feeling the weight of command, but also the strength of his team. "Let's move forward," he said quietly, more to himself than anyone else. Together. Outside, the galaxy awaited. And for the first time, it would learn that a human captain, with an alien crew of skilled, independent women, could face dangers no one else would dare confront, and emerge victorious. The Velora's spear glided into the unknown, engines glowing softly, carrying a human who had earned respect, a crew who had learned trust, and a story the galaxy would never forget. For Ethan Cole, it wasn't about fame or medals. It was about leading, surviving, and proving that humans, often underestimated, could achieve greatness when they worked together. And with this crew, he knew that greatness was